I'm Leah Lane, an award-winning travel writer and author of Places I Remember, Tales, Truths, Delights from 100 Countries. On this podcast, we share conversations with travelers about fascinating destinations and memorable experiences around the world. If you're a regular listener of Places I Remember, you'll know that we have over 100 episodes. New ones drop the first Tuesday of every month. You'll also know that as a longtime travel writer, I've been lucky enough to visit all continents and over 100 countries. And in doing so, I've grown more and more concerned about caring for our planet and the creatures that inhabit it. So today, we'll be talking first about saving one of the most beautiful animals in the world, and then we'll talk about the country that has the largest population of that animal, Namibia. Overall, the International Union for Conservation of Nature estimates that half the globe's over 5,000 known mammals are declining in population, and a fifth are clearly at risk of disappearing forever, with over 1,000 mammals across the globe classified as endangered, threatened, or vulnerable. And specifically in the last 100 years, we've lost 90% of the world's fastest land animal, the spotted, agile, elegant, big cat called the cheetah. Our guest on this episode is doing more than just about anyone to stop this loss. After establishing North America's most successful captive cheetah breeding program at Oregon's Wildlife Safari, in 1990, Dr. Laurie Marker founded the Cheetah Conservation Fund and moved to the African country of Namibia to develop a permanent international research and education center on a 156,000-acre private wildlife reserve. Welcome, Laurie, to Places I Remember.
Thank you. Lovely to be with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you join us. We'll first discuss your work in saving these beautiful threatened big cats, and then we'll talk about the country where you now live, Namibia. I've been there once, and next month I'll be traveling there again. We'll cover some of what you think makes Namibia a special travel destination. But tell us first how you got interested in working with cheetahs.
Well, I didn't know I was going to be working with cheetahs, but that's where my life led me. And I started working with cheetahs back in the early 1970s. And that was in Oregon, where I developed a wildlife park. And we were one of the few places in the world that had cheetahs. So we started breeding them, and that became my passion to learn more about cheetahs because there were very few of them in the world, in captivity. They didn't breed well. And we knew that there were not that many out in the wild anymore, but nobody knew that much. So by the middle of 1970s, I ended up in Namibia, Africa. Then it was called Southwest Africa. It hadn't gotten its independence yet from South Africa. And in Namibia, I actually took a cheetah that I raised and taught her how to hunt. And that's really how I got involved in cheetahs and Namibia and why I live in Namibia today.
That's wonderful. I'm a cat lady. I guess you say when you taught her to hunt, I've taught my cat to do things too. I guess they're all the same in some ways, right? We can identify.
Cats are very, very similar across the board. There's about 42 species of cats. The cheetah is the most unique of all the cats. They are the fastest land animal and can go up to 70 miles an hour, but they're also trying to outrun extinction. There's only about 7,500 cheetahs left in the world today. And Namibia is the cheetah capital of the world, and I have helped make it that way. We have about 1,000 cheetahs, and I've been working there since I moved there in 1990, where I set up the foundation to help save the wild cheetahs.
What would happen to the entire ecosystem of our world if the cheetahs became extinct?
Well, that's always a hard thing on a global scale. I mean, every species plays a key role. The cheetah in the systems actually helps manage, control the grassland ecosystems. And so what they do is they help with the overgrazing of the land. They actually feed all the other wildlife species because a cheetah, when it makes a kill, it eats rapidly and then leaves food for the rest of the other small mammals, insects, birds. And so they actually help create greater biodiversity. So when you lose a top predator like the cheetah, it actually reduces the biodiversity within an ecosystem. So cheetahs play a really important role, especially in an arid land, grassland system. So the cheetah is actually a very important part of keeping the systems healthy.
Well, you work in conjunction with the people on whose land the cheetah lives. How do you involve the local Namibians, uplift the people who live alongside these animals?
Well, it's interesting because cheetahs are one species that is actually not known to live in protected areas. 95% of all of our cheetahs in Namibia are found outside of protected areas. The remaining small areas where cheetahs are found throughout their ranges, 80% of them are found outside of protected areas. So in Namibia, working with communities is very critical. Namibia is famous for what are called conservancies, where communities are actually, we work very closely with the conservancies, with the Ministry of Environment, to actually empower them so that they manage their natural resources. And so with 90% of all the cheetahs and 80% of our wildlife living outside of protected areas, the communities play a key role in making sure that there's enough grasslands, the wildlife numbers are high enough that an animal like the predators, like cheetahs, are not causing problems for their livestock. And then we work with communities to help understand how to manage their livestock better. We do a program called Future Farmers of Africa, which is actually an integration of, if you have good grazing land and good wildlife and good livestock management, then predators and all the other wildlife species can live within this whole system. And that's what conservancies are, an integrated system that allows the communities to actually have better livelihoods.
Well, I've learned that Namibia is one of the most aware countries in the world about ecology. It's one of the things I like best.
We're leading the way in, I think, Africa conservation. Being an American, I also see that we're helping and can share things back here in America with the systems that we've helped put in place. But within our communities, conservancies play a very key role. But that leads into that of ecotourism, where the communities actually benefit from having tourists come into their area. And that benefits them by being tour guides, by actually, we've got livelihood aspects. The Cheetah Conservation Fund, we do a huge amount of integration, like using our livestock, which we have. We're a model farm, and we teach communities how to farm in harmony with nature. We have a goat dairy, and we now are teaching communities that you can milk your goats and make cheeses and maybe soap. And those are also alternative livelihoods. But also for your family, you can make cheeses for protein and not just have to carry your livestock numbers, a large number of them, and have them only for your food, that you can actually utilize animals differently as well.
Can a person visit your cheetah research center?
As a tourist, yeah. The Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia, we're outside of the town called Otjiwarongo. That means a beautiful place. And in Otjiwarongo, we're about 45 minutes out of town. We have an open to the public research and education facility. So we're open every day of the year except Christmas. Visitors can come in and learn all about the cheetah. We do have orphan cheetahs there that we care for, and the public loves to see them and learn more about why they're there. But we have a big museum. With our model farm, have livestock guarding dogs, which are a large breed of dog to protect livestock. Our livestock guarding dog program is very integrated into communities and public visitors coming and learning more about the things it takes to work and save Africa's wildlife. How does conservation really work? We have a genetics lab. We've got a veterinary clinic. Visitors are quite engaged when they come and learn. We also have an overnight area where people can stay. We've got the Babson House, which is an exclusive guest house. And then we have our Cheetah View Lodge, which is lovely. We welcome visitors.
Sounds like a wonderful addition to the other beautiful things about Namibia. Namibia is on the northwest border, north of South Africa. The landscape includes lots of open spaces with thorn bushes, scattered farms and towns. It's one of the least occupied countries in the world, I read, but it also has astounding beauty. It's known mostly for the Namib Desert coming down to the Atlantic Ocean coast, but it also has mountains and canyons and savannas. Stunning. It was colonized as German Southwest Africa, as you know, from 1884 until 1915. And since gaining independence from South Africa in 1990, it's enjoyed decades of political stability. How would you describe your country in general, Laurie?
Oh, open landscapes, breathtaking views, say amazing people and cultures.
Tell us about some of the ethnic groups. I know there's a wonderful tribe in the north called the Himba. that many people miss. They're beautiful people.
Well, we have about 13 different cultures all mixed together and living in harmony. Namibia is also one of the safest places and most peaceful places on earth, which I'm very, very proud of. The ethnic groups that people will see in many places would be maybe the Damra speaking people. And Damra are well known because they have a click, arid, that means cheetah.
Are
And
you
Damra,
clicking right now?
clicking, yes.
I didn't hear it. Can you click again?
Arid. It's a very low, I'm not a good clicker, but
Okay.
there are the Herero speaking people. And the Herero are characterized, I think, by the women wearing these very big, long dresses, these colonial dresses. They're beautiful in these dresses. And they're in the eastern part of the areas. And then their relatives are very, very far up north, which are the Himba speaking. The Himba being the most rural of the communities. Namibia is hot. So I'll also say that we're hot, arid, dry. We would love rain, but we don't get very much of it. Where the Himba are, they live in bomas where their cattle are with them. They move where there might be some grasses, but they are a beautiful culture of people. The other culture that we have in Namibia that's also very rural be the Sand Bushmen. And they are over in the east as well. And they're amazing. You can go tracking with them and telling stories about the wildlife and the wildlife they see and where the wildlife's gone and why it's gone there. You can travel into all of these areas when you come to Namibia. Another very special group are the Avambu, and that is the main tribe. At independence, Namibia just took the role of saying, we're not tribal, we are all Namibian. So we're Namibian first. And then with that, we do have the white tribes. So there's German, there's Afrikaans, there's English. And that is very interesting that everybody blends together. And I love the blending of everybody. English is the spoken language because there are so many different languages. At independence, Namibia said, we're going to speak English, which makes it easy for me. When I got there, everybody wanted to learn English for me. And so I always say, well, they now have California slang English that they speak.
You're changing the world one word at a time, right?
Right.
Well, it's a gorgeous country as well. And I'll just start off with the part that I think is the most beautiful. It's the highest sand dunes in the world, located in and around Sossusvlei, the southern part of the Namib Desert. It's the oldest desert on Earth. It also may be the most beautiful. For centuries, the wind has sculpted sharp ridges of sand into arcs that rise from valley floors, maybe 1,000 feet. Each dune is different and it's constantly reshaped by the wind. It shifts color throughout the day. I remember having to get up early in the morning, and it wasn't easy because I was tired, but we went to see the shadows on the dunes. So sometimes you can see half the dune in dark shadow and half in rust red. Photographer's delight. You've got the pans of sand and salt. It's white against the red. It's just gorgeous. The Dune 7 is the highest dune in Namibia, I believe. It's over 1,000 feet. Called Dune 7 because it's the seventh one you come across when you cross the river. Other famous dunes are Dune 45 and two that I love, Big Daddy and Big Mama. Have you climbed any of these?
I have many times. Yeah.
What's it like?
It's climbing sand up,
Yeah.
up.
I got a little way up. It's not so easy. I got part way up, but it's very, very difficult after a while.
That's why you get there so early in the morning,
right?
Because it is hot. But we are also a high desert, and so we can be in the summer, American summers, we can be quite cold. And so that is also something to be aware of.
Right. It's a challenge, Bill. I don't know if there's any place in the world quite like it.
There isn't. If you go on more to the coast, you end up seeing the dunes right on the water as well, which is just amazing. So
amazing. Remembering my trip, we took a 5-hour drive from Sossusvlei to the capital city of Windhoek.
Right.
In Namibia's central highlands. And I remember a troop of baboons sitting in the road, maybe 75 of them, and herds of oryx on the side. These are large, pale antelope with dark markings and straight horns. Just the trip itself was something because it was on very empty roads. There was almost no one, very basic roads. What do you recommend seeing and doing in Windhoek?
Oh, well, Windhoek's our capital. This is a joke, is that when you get off of the sand dunes and into the city, of course, you're going to go to one of the nice hotels and take a shower. But
sounds like a good idea.
Because we do have a lot of dust and dirt. But beyond that, lovely shops with local community craft objects. We have great restaurants. The seafood comes from the ocean, fresh daily. We have the best oysters, I think, in the world. I'm very partial to our oysters.
Yes.
Of course, we are a meat eating country as well. Our beef is incredible. And actually, our beef comes to America. We're the only country in all of Africa that actually sends our beef here. Namibia is a
Wow.
very high standard country. I think we need to also point out.
Absolutely. Now, I had Mahongo soup. Can you
Okay,
explain what's in that?
a soup made out of Mahongo. It's a millet. How was it?
It was good. It was made with fish and I think goat meat, but I think you can have it
Very
with lamb. I like to eat something typical, not
typical.
just beautiful oysters, which I also like to eat. And I had very good green asparagus. I remember that.
The
Yeah.
asparagus comes from the coast. Remember, we
Oh,
have a very long coast. It has to be about 1,500 miles.
you can drive along and see nobody for hours and hours, and the sand, the packed sand road is the same color sort of on an overcast day as the ocean. And they call it the end of the earth because it
Yeah.
feels like that. It's a good feeling if you've got lots of gas in your tank. And
Yes.
let's go onto the Skeleton Coast.
Called the Skeleton Coast primarily because boats used to run into it. It's a rocky coast. It's not a gentle, soft coast. Apparently, there had been a number of boats that had gone askew.
Yeah, there's some. Did you see them ever?
There's a couple along the road that you stop in and take pictures of and abandoned for a long time. But the stories go way back when harsh lands. But
Harsh land. And if you're with someone or with a group, I think you wouldn't want to do this one solo. I'm a solo traveler, but this one's pushing it.
you can go into Namibia, get a car, and drive anywhere, and you're perfectly safe. And
Yeah,
there's not very many places in the world you can say that.
you're safe for sure. Just get that gas tank full. That would be my one thing. What about the coastal city of Swakopmund? It has sandy beaches. It faces the Atlantic. It was established by German colonists in 1892 and has a lot of colonial landmarks. What are a few of them that you would recommend?
Those also are wildlife areas. We've got Walvis Bay, which is south a little bit. It is where we now have Big Wharf. And if you move north, you can go up and see the sea lions, which are very famous. And these are some of the first places the explorers landed. Huge, lovely lighthouse there.
Pelican Point Lighthouse,
Right.
and loads of fur seals. I remember, the smell of them and the sound of them. You have to get used to it. But there are over 100,000 birds counted in the lagoon there, mostly flamingos and pelicans. So it's a beautiful sight to see that pink against the gray coast. It's a very delicate coloring. Lots of marine life. A very wonderful contrast to the desert. Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
it amazing? And they're so close to each other. I took a plane from Walvis Bay area to dunes. That a lot of people do it that way. With time as a problem, it's a long
Right.
way to drive. So you fly in these tiny planes and you get to see below you these red dunes. You see how red they are. Besides a significant cheetah population, Namibia is home to diverse wildlife. The most famous national park, Etosha, is in northwestern Namibia, one of the largest national parks in Africa, and it was proclaimed a game reserve in 1907. What animals will you find at Etosha?
Oh, Etosha is just so beautiful. Again, it's a very arid landscape. And so the animals are covering very vast areas, but we have huge herds of elephants. Our elephants also go into areas near the coast, which are called desert elephants. So again, we've got some very specialized species. Within the park, you can see rhinos and giraffe, all the wildlife species from oryx and hartebeest, springbok everywhere that are bouncing everywhere. Lions, of course, hyena, very few cheetahs,
Two kinds of zebra, I read.
mountain zebra, and there are plain zebras. Most people see the plain zebra. The mountain zebra are much more rare, and they're also very shy in many areas that are not necessarily open to the public, but they're mountainous. Etosha is just incredible for the amount of wildlife. You go to these water points, it's a very arid land, and so the water points, the wildlife congregates in. It's amazing the kinds of species, the numbers of species, all living there together. And then the predators, and of course, everybody likes those as well.
Right. There are many other attractions to visit. I would just include two that I think are special. Fish River Canyon. It's the largest canyon in Africa and the world's second largest canyon. It's about 60 million years old. It was formed when South America and Africa separated. It's 100 miles long, a challenging hike. Have you done it?
I have not done it. I've been to the rim and I've looked over.
Very
It's a
beautiful.
very challenging hike,
It
actually.
is very
So
challenging.
people who have that kind of adventure, definitely.
Good for them. Then there's Coleman Scope Ghost Town. And this ghost town is different from what you usually think of because it's filled with sand. The desert has taken it over since about 1956 when it was abandoned as a former diamond mining town. Have you been there?
I've been there. And you know
Interesting.
what? There's a lot of hyenas that like to live in and out of there too,
Whoa.
and jackals. They're more nocturnal, but it's just an amazing place to take pictures. Of course, when you come to Namibia, bring your camera. But Namibia
Absolutely.
is a huge country. An area that you've missed, and I'm not sure if you've been there, has been Domra land,
Yes.
where the rock etchings are. Triflefontein, one of my favorite places in the entire world. It's a World Heritage Site, so it's been developed with walkways, fortunately, to protect these amazing rock etchings that are at least 5,000 years old, but they're etched in. And within there, there's also areas where there are rock paintings. But this area is etched, and they are just incredible, from ostriches and elephants and rhinos and giraffe, cheetah, kudu, antelope. They're all on these rocks that are amazing. It's like going to a wildlife church, I'm going to say, outdoor, incredible art that's there.
What a magnificent picture you're painting. There are
Uh,
so many things to go and view and visit. I suggest reading up some more and maybe adding Namibia if you're already flying to South Africa. I think a lot of people don't think of it as being so close to South Africa. I know many listeners travel to Botswana and so forth. It's so close. Please, if it isn't number one, at least add in a week if you can and be prepared for one of the most exhilarating trips of your life. Well, the name of the podcast is Places I Remember. So, Dr. Laurie Marker, would you please share a special memory, either of your work with the cheetahs or of your travels in Namibia or both?
I love Namibia. It's my favorite place in the world. And people ask me when I travel all the time, I like where I live, which is the Cheetah Conservation Fund's land at the base of the Waterberg, which is a national park. But we've got the most beautiful, spectacular view of the Waterberg. And this area, we've got an area that we call the Little Serengeti on our land. And we obviously take people on game drives, and you can see all kinds of wildlife, but with this spectacular Waterberg Plateau as our background is just breathtaking. And this is where we do all of our cheetah work. And it's just amazing to see the cheetahs out in this landscape as well. We also see leopards quite often, the giraffe and the rhinos. I mean, it's incredible. So I think that's maybe my vision. I travel all the time and I'm sharing with people the stories about how to go about saving cheetahs. And with that, I always have this vision of the Waterberg in the back of my mind and all the thoughts that I have. So it's been a lovely country that I welcome people to come to. And working with cheetahs and trying to save them has been a amazing voyage and journey that I've been on for so many years, 35 years based in Namibia. And with that, being able to see the cheetah survive for the future as one of the world's most endangered big cats is a job not only for myself, but for everybody who I think meets a cheetah and sees the work that needs to be done to try to get involved in it. So I welcome people to come visit, also to learn more about what we do on our website, which is cheetah.org, to learn all the different aspects of community work, education work, the beauty of the biology and the ecology of the cheetah, and understanding more about how we can live in harmony together if we just try.
Well, beautiful thoughts. Thank you so much, Dr. Laurie Marker, for sharing your insights about Namibia and for the outstanding work you do there for cheetahs. You are changing the world. Our planet now faces a global extinction crisis never witnessed by humankind. Scientists predict that more than 1 million species are on track for extinction in the coming decades. If you want to help, we'll have more info in the episode show notes. Thanks again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to our award-winning podcast. We've recorded over 100 episodes of Places I Remember, so follow us on any podcast app. And new monthly episodes are also on YouTube with gorgeous video. My book, Places I Remember, is available in print and Kindle, and I read the audio version. Follow my travel writing at Forbes.com. Contact me at the links in the show notes or on my website, placesirememberlealane.com, and keep making your own travel memories.